Okay, everyone, we'll call this meeting to order. This is the Policy and Procedures Committee meeting dated March the 17th at 5 o'clock. And we're here in the conference room number 1. And we have taken the roll call. Everybody is present except for Dow Jones. And I know she's going to be watching, so hi, Dow. We have a change on the agenda. We need to add administrative closing as item number 6.2 on unfinished business. And if that's okay with everybody, I need a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. And we have nobody in public comments for today, so that's null and void. We have the minutes we need to get approved from the previous meeting of, would that be January the 27th? We have not approved those yet, and I know I've read over every bit of it, so. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes from January the 27th meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion been made to approve. Need a second?
I'll second that.
Have a second by Jenny Anthony. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Unfinished business, number 6.1, was discussing the leave, employee leave accrual. And I think everybody had some handouts we had for that last time. Is that right, Andy?
Yeah, I passed out what we
Yeah.
currently have in our
Manual?
manual.
What page was that on?
It's on page 17. When the ad hoc committee was formed, we were tasked to look at benefits for employees. And one of the things that was sent back as a recommendation was look at vacation and sick leave. So currently, we have 3 scales, and all of them have higher date to 5 years starting off. And one of the suggestions that I made was that to recruit new employees, I felt like we needed a 0 to 2 or 3 year bracket and then a 3 to 5, so that after you've been here a couple of years, you get that benefit to increase your vacation time, not have to wait till 5 years to do that. And I felt like a lot of our employees, when we were talking about people leaving, they leave between year 3 and 5.
Mostly
Two,
or before.
2 and 4.
Yeah.
So we just thought maybe that, giving them a benefit a little earlier would help. So I looked at what some other counties was doing, if I can find it. So like City of Tullahoma, they've got a range for 0 to 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, where we go 0 to 5 and then 6 to 10. So they actually set their accruals, 3 times between year 0 and year 5, where we just do it once.
What is their 0 to 1?
It is 40 hours. So 1 week first year. Then after year 1, they get 2 weeks.
So we're better off than the city, right?
We get 12 days.
Nearly 2.5 weeks.
Mhm.
Instead of 1
And that's
week.
all the way though from
Higher
higher to
date to
5.
To 5.
Yeah,
did with that. Got so many papers. Yeah, I must not have brought it, but I looked at, like, most counties had a different breakdown in between years 0 and 5 and 10. They, just about every one of them did something after year 1, 2, or 3, where we don't do anything until really year 6 is when you get an
A bump.
increase, a bump. So, not that we need to decide what to do tonight, but I think it would be good to get input from all the departments, cause, I've talked to Sheriff's Department and, you know, they would see they feel like they would see a big benefit to give people stuff earlier, to keep people a little longer. Where some of your smaller departments may not see that benefit. The other thing that was talked about was EMS has a different breakout for their leave accruals. Do we need to have a breakout for, and set all emergency management aside because they work different hours, and just have an administrative schedule, what am I trying to say? Like Sheriff's Department, EMA, all those, have them on a schedule, and then EMS. So, you know, it's just something we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we may invite department heads or ask them what their opinion is to come to a meeting and discuss that to see if they really feel like it's a benefit. I'm just trying to get the information out there from what the ad hoc committee thought
Right.
would be a good idea. So,
Yeah, I think it needs to be more steps and then 0 to 5. That's too long of a period.
EMS already has 0 to 3, so.
right.
Yeah.
They don't, they're fine.
Yeah, they're,
Well, I would,
And they work.
Theirs
a-
is based
and
on
they-
24-hour shifts.
I was gonna say, they work a 40-hour, like, bi-weekly, weekly, as administrative is 37 and a half
Right.
weekly. So I think that's one reason why administrative is less.
yeah, EMS has 2 steps, really 3 steps up to year 5, where we just have 1. And this isn't talking
I
about
think it'd be
change.
good to ask, on my opinion, but I like the fact that you're accruing this anyway. You don't wait a whole year before you get anything, so,
Yeah, that's a big benefit.
yeah.
so we want to invite the department heads
If
If they
y'all-
wanna come.
I mean,
if they want to come, if they want to have
Yeah.
input in it.
yeah, if they see a need, I think it would be good, cause I don't wanna present something that's gonna
yeah.
affect
Yeah, I think
other
we oughta-
offices.
Would they
Ask before
accrue
we
less
decide.
in that 0 to 3 than what they
Well,
are now? Is
you're-
that what you're saying?
You're only talking about new hires.
I think you ought to do a 0 to 1. And it's just Terry. 0 to 1, and then you go 2 to 3, and then 4 to 5, and then maybe do a 3-step. To get to 5.
I think you
Because
look-
Well,
you need to
don't-
give
and you
something
don't know.
more.
Within that first year, you know whether it's
Whether
gonna,
they're,
it's
you
gonna
know whether they're
work.
gonna, yeah, but
And-
you also know that employee's gonna stay
I
after,
have
after he
mixed
stays a
feelings
year.
about it.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying.
I
That-
mean,
that-
I can see pros and cons to both, and I'm not gonna just say I'm completely, opposed to it because, you know, when you run like a larger office like mine and you have several new hires at one time, and then they are awarded this amount of accrual time, it's kind of crucial, especially during that first year.
Helps you hire them.
Well, it does. It definitely does. But then it's also, you know, on the flip side of that, you know, they need to be present to be able to obtain everything and learn everything, and you know, and if they're out a lot, then that's hard. And it's hard on the office and the ones that have been there for a long time, it's hard. Because they need it, you know, they have all this accrual time that they, especially the ones that, you know, 6 to 10 or 11 to 20, that they accrue really, you know, a lot faster than the newer ones. So they need to take off because then they're over their limit. So, I mean, I can see pros and cons to it, yeah. But on the trying to get new hires in, that is a really good selling point for me. So, yeah.
Well,
you know,
even
I'm-
if you change it, if you're doing it by the hour, that's not gonna help that situation.
Yeah,
New hires, I mean, they're getting it by the hour.
right. They'll just, you know, they wouldn't accrue as much if we,
Well, that's my
No,
question.
yeah.
If we
I'm not
dropped it
saying
down,
to
yeah.
lower it.
Yeah.
I'm saying to do more steps. I'm asking the departments to come in and say, what will help you recruit?
do you think,
Yeah.
maybe more step in between the 3.46 and the 4.33,
Well,
something
I
in
mean-
between there? I mean, I don't know.
Take the days and the hours out and
Uh-huh.
just look at 0 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's gotta stay here till year 6 before
Right.
they get
Get
any
more
benefit.
accrual
get any
time.
more.
And
Yeah.
that's a little long.
So if
to me.
you,
Yeah, I mean,
Hey.
I've always
It's only
wondered, I mean,
3
that's a
days.
big,
They're getting,
That's a
they're
big
getting the
jump,
same thing
so-
that first one just started yesterday.
so then
Hey.
maybe like
a recruiting.
something a little in between the 3.46 and the 4.33 during that time. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's what we're.
Yeah.
looking
That's what we're
for,
talking
yeah.
about.
Yeah, and I always wondered where the totals come from, like how they were figured. I don't know.
It's by pay period and adds up to those days.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but, yeah,
Well-
I mean, that's what, to me, a recruiting tool is, okay, if you stay for a year or 2 years, you're gonna get a benefit as of year 3,
Mm-hmm.
instead of telling somebody, okay, you're gonna get this amount of time for 5 years.
Right.
I think we do need to look back though and decide what is everybody else doing? And just like I mentioned about Tullahoma, we're already doing a lot better than them, so if we're talking about lowering the number of
Well,
years, are we gonna do that?
that's a question for the departments to what would. be
Yeah,
a
that's what I'm
benefit
saying, we ought to discuss
What help or
all of it.
what help and what hurts you?
Right. To me, the sheriff and Jenny feels like, you know, giving them more sooner is a better recruiting tool. Where, you know, some of us in some departments may feel like, you know, the number of days they have is sufficient, but, you know,
Something in between.
yeah, something in between. So maybe you don't jump from 3.46 to 4.3 in year 3, maybe you have a different
Something in between
set
too.
in between there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Right.
So you're gonna have to change something,
Like a 3.75
without-
or a 4.
increasing it just arbitrarily to say,
Yeah, like how would you determine that
yeah.
in between figure? I guess.
And
Yeah.
I wished I'd have brought that, cause I had like 5 or 6 counties on it, but I can't find it.
Well, we can talk about it
But
again.
most of them had a step in there, year 1, 2, or 3. And to be honest with you, a lot of them maxed out earlier than 21 plus years. A lot of them maxed out after 15 or 20.
Oh wow.
So, you know, that was another benefit, that they had over hours. I really didn't compare days and stuff as much as I did where they were at with,
Well, I
the
think
steps.
we've got a
Yeah.
lot of things to look at. In private business, we have thought for years that government employees typically didn't get paid as well as the private sector, but you had better benefits. But now we're trying to come back and pay better. We've been doing that, so I think we've gotta work it all out. We don't get ahead of ourselves. I worked for a place that I thought were wonderful benefits, but they didn't do that well on accrued leave.
I know back when I worked at the base a long time ago, we got 8 hours for every month that we worked.
Yeah,
You
This-
work 30 days, you got 8 hours. You got 30 days, you got another 8 hours. You got 30 days, you got another 8 hours.
kinda like the military.
Was military.
This isn't the one I planned to bring y'all, but this is one that I started working on a while back. But like Franklin County, they had steps 1 year, 2 years, and 9 years. And I may have missed something in their personnel manual when I read it online. Tullahoma was 0 to 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and they maxed out after 15 years. Warren County was 1, 2, 5, and 10. Beaver County was 5, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20. They were similar to ours. So that was just some stuff I marked down at first.
Well, I think there's one thing to factor in is the employees get 14 days of holidays. No private sector I know gets that.
That's a huge benefit.
That's a lot of days.
That's my other selling point.
That's more twice than most private sectors get. So if you put that in with this, I think we need to look at the whole picture.
Did you see any that were like every 3 years or
Those were
anything?
the ones I looked at.
Those were the
yeah,
main
just
ones.
because they were kind of
Mhm.
surrounding,
Sure.
so.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
What
would.
does 3.75 do on per, well, I guess that's per hour, per pay period?
Times
It's
26.
Times 20, yeah, it's 26, ain't it?
Yeah.
What's that, like 14? No, it ain't 14. It's gotta be like 13.
If you're talking about
Yeah, another day.
it'd be another day.
I don't think no employee's gonna leave because of a change right here, whether it goes, the first 5 years or it goes 2 years or whatever.
No, but if,
They'd like to have it.
if you have comparable compensation to other positions around, and when you're talking about turnover, you're talking about the bigger offices, sheriff's department, you know, EMS, Genie. When you have comparable pay to surrounding counties or cities, you can only recruit those people with benefits. So if you're paying well and they see that benefit coming in, and then they look in 2 or 3 years, maybe they're looking at what am I getting now? Once
Yeah.
they say, I'm not getting anything for 5 years, okay, I'm gonna go over here for
Just kind
another
of gives them a little
another
extra encouragement.
50 cents, dollar an hour, so I can, you know, get it going, where if I'm gonna get an extra day or two after 2 or 3 years, that may be more beneficial, a little more time off than that dollar going, you
Yeah.
know, to Manchester City or
I
Tullahoma
know
City.
it.
It's all.
It all
recruited
depends
to-
on the whole
It
situation.
does.
Right.
Where
It
they're gonna
does.
have to live, are they gonna have to move? And
Yeah, all we can do
It's
is put
everything.
together the best package we
Yeah.
can.
I think we just have to be fair.
Right.
I think just weighing, most individuals, they have to weigh it all out.
You do.
And,
Yeah.
and that's
Everybody
what,
surely has to.
yeah. That's usually what I tell folks, when hiring or if decided to leave, the big picture and, what they're letting go of and where they're
And
headed.
what we have may be fine with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, if we invite them and
I'm
they don't
certainly
show
not
up or
against
nothing, this is
discussing
just
all
what
of
the,
it.
what the ad hoc committee kinda said, this is what we kinda need to look at.
Because I talked to a couple of them, and they said they thought the time needed to be split on the new hire to 5. They thought that was a starting point.
Yeah, I think it would
Because-
be a big encouragement for someone who, that's been with the county, between that 2 and 3 year mark. It kind of gives them a little bit of extra incentive, in between the 0 to 5.
I think maybe a 0 to 2 and then
Three
then
to
go to
five.
3 to 5. But still keep the first, the 3.46 on
Yeah.
the 0 to 2 and then have something in between these two.
I'm assuming.
That's just my thoughts, but
Yeah.
now, yeah,
Just-
we need to,
and
I
just
think we do
figure
need to
out
have.
how we need to calculate
Yeah.
that, and, yeah.
It will change, it would change, their accrual rate would change.
Yep,
If, let's say, an employee goes from here to Manchester City, I'm assuming they'll start all over again. Same thing would come from Manchester City to the county. They'd start day one, they wouldn't get to move over and say, well, I've already put in 5 years here, so
Yeah,
they've
we-
got
we-
to factor
we-
in
we-
all
we've
that
already-
too.
we've already been there.
Yeah,
That's
that
what I'm
would not be
saying,
fair, yeah.
when they wanna make that move, that's something they've gotta think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have an employee right now that doesn't want to leave my office, but she's been put in a situation where, temporarily, she's needing to take care of a family situation, so, I've agreed to let her work part-time, which she loses all of it. Loses all of her accrual and,
Wow.
and hopefully I'll be able to hire her back full-time. I'm trying to make arrangements, if it works out. If not, I may just have to fill the position and as full-time, but I'm trying to do
Not
what I
have
can
to,
to
yeah.
make it work, but yeah, so, yeah, but with the understanding she knows that she's she's gonna have to leave
Start
all those
over.
benefits and insurance and all of that, so.
So when she cuts back to part-time, she loses all of it.
So
Makes it tough.
that's just my suggestion, maybe next month,
I think we need to ask the department heads if they'll
Yeah.
invite them.
let them
And
know.
give us the sheet
Tell them
you
what, tell
are
'em-
talking about, cause I
Yeah.
wanna see
I'll
not
get that.
just the
I'll
breakdown
email it out.
between
okay, tell
how
'em to
much
be
per
the,
hour they're getting.
Right.
as long as we don't change it, it'll be the 21st of April.
But let them know what we're discussing.
Yeah, so they can look at it already
Yeah,
and say, hey, does this help you or hurt you?
right.
Or tell us what you want,
What's your opinion?
what your opinions are.
5 o'clock?
Yeah, yeah,
And
it'll be
it'll
the same
probably
time.
be like this, we'll get, everybody will have a different opinion.
Everybody's gonna have a different opinion, sure they are. And then what we can just do is find the happy medium in it and go with it and try it and see. It ain't like we can't change something. I mean, we've done it before.
That's all I
It
have.
doesn't make
I think it-
Heather
I mean,
happy when we do it, but
It's okay,
it's okay.
it's okay.
As long as it's a one-paper thing.
Yeah, not the whole
One
meeting,
page, not the
please.
whole
Not at
meeting.
the same, not at one time.
Well, let's do that, because I think that's where we'll get our most input from, and then we can go from there. And then they can't sit there and, you did this to us, and,
No, I don't think we ought to do that.
No,
Yeah,
I don't want any doing
and
that.
I don't think anybody would,
yeah.
not if we're trying to improve
I
something.
want them
don't think
to
anybody
feel like we're
will.
trying to improve
Right.
the conditions, not make it worse for them.
I did have one more thing.
On this?
On this same
Okay.
thing. This is some language that I found in another, municipality's personnel manual that kind of talks into better detail on sick leave. How it can be done, and talks more towards sick leave abuse. So, if you look at our sick leave policy, it's very generic. Very generic.
It is.
It's very generic.
So this is just some stuff that we may want to look at adding to the policy. And we don't have to go over this tonight. This is just for y'all to look at, compare it to what we have in ours, and, maybe that's something we talk about with the department heads too. Because I do know we've had some issues with, not every department, but with abuse of sick leave. So that just is, this municipality just had MTS and, which is our CTAS, review all this, so it's all, what do you call it? Not ADA, but compliant with, language. I'm trying to think.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Okay. Never mind. Anyway, it's up to date language.
I was gonna ask you about that, Jenny, you were talking about if that person goes part-time and then they come back, you gonna put them back in the same brackets they were,
If I'm able, yeah.
so they don't
I'm
have to
ma-
start all over again.
Yeah, well, as far as like the years, like how many years she's,
Yeah.
which she's not, she's in between the 0 and 5, so,
So it's not a big factor
Nah.
in her case,
nope.
but it could be somebody that was 20 years.
Sure, absolutely, yeah,
So I was just wondering, how does that work?
yeah. Because it's.
We don't
and
really have a
that is-
policy to
it's-
do
it is-
that, do we?
It's such a big, gap, so that didn't really play into,
Is she already gone to temporary?
at the end of the month. Or next week, really.
Think of something, you might want to discuss some of that with her,
Oh, I have.
just in case.
Oh, I have. We've
Yeah, tried to figure out ways to
been
keep
a
her
couple
here.
weeks of when she, well, she thought she was gonna have to leave completely, and then we worked through some things, and then she thought she was gonna be able to, on her end, work it out and not leave at all, and then it was just went back and forth. But yeah, I really don't, good employee you don't want to lose. So
No.
Well, that's what I was about to say. That's one of those things you can say, we don't typically do, we're just not gonna make you go.
in her position, I was able to. I'm able to juggle some of her responsibilities. Not every position I'm able to do
Yeah.
that
I
with, and
understand.
so that makes it hard. And I'm all about. I want to be
But if you were in a
fair.
factory, they'd probably say, if you can't get the work done, well,
Yeah,
we're just gonna have to get somebody else.
sure, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I'm fairly flexible, and we can juggle some responsibilities around the office for the time being. And if it creates a
Okay,
problem, then we'll have to fill it, but try not to.
all right, let's go ahead and get on to the next one then, and it's administrative closing.
That's 21.
Yes, it is.
I think at last meeting, I handed out the current and then the proposed, what we discussed, of making everyone the same, 8 hours of straight pay. And it to actually be paid out, instead of accruing comp time.
You're talking about non-EMS.
Just your first responders, because I mean, your administrative employees, we're paid as we were here anyway. The
Yes,
first responders, of course,
they're gonna
have to
work, some of them will have to,
yes.
some
So,
won't.
right, and, they were getting different amounts, like EMS would get 24, sheriff may get 12, depending on,
That's if they work.
that's if they
Those
work.
that don't work, you're talking about 8 hours.
Yes, that,
Okay.
well, no, that would be 8 hours if you do work. Everyone would get the same amount of hours. Now,
Even
your first
EMS?
responders, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about,
Your administrative officers are only gonna get 7.5. We only work 37 and a half
Yeah.
hour. This is for your first responders only.
so are the responders gonna feel like they're not getting anything when they're off already?
Say that again.
I said, are those that are already off on these administrative closings, are they gonna say, why aren't we getting paid?
Which
Well,
one?
they wouldn't have worked anyway. They
Yeah.
wouldn't have been scheduled on a shift.
You
Right.
talking about the emergency personnel?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the confusion was EMS. It was in the policy that said these officers get comp time. Well, EMS had never
Had
gave
never gotten
their-
theirs.
Right. So, when it went to, Michael Bonner went to, I think, HWR, and then back to the ambulance authority. Ambulance authority had no choice but to go with the policy, and the policy said you get,
Comp time.
you know, comp time for the hours worked. So they just said, you know, they get 24 hours of comp time. And so that was where the confusion was coming in.
But it was only the employees that were scheduled to
To
work
work.
that day.
Yep,
Were
not
the
the ones
only
that was
ones
already
that were
off.
given 24 hours of comp.
Not for the ones who was already off.
No, they didn't receive anything.
so we're not gonna look at that like anyway as a holiday,
No.
so they're not gonna get anything extra.
Well, an administrative closing, is not to benefit the employee. It's to keep the public off the parking lots from slipping and falling at the administrative plaza, justice center, where libraries, health departments, you know.
Every.
It's
county
not, it was never set up to be a benefit. It was set up to protect the public. And it's gotten more as a benefit.
Yes. I agree. That's why I was wondering if they're gonna start yelling,
Well, in
people that
this,
even
aren't
the people that
scheduled.
aren't on schedule.
in this revision, it says the entire shift must begin on the day the administrative closing is in effect in order to receive the additional pay. That was a question for some of, I think, like, I know dispatch, 911 dispatch. If they started at 7 the morning of the administrative closing, technically, the administration offices do not open till 8 o'clock, and that's the time we were going by. If they were going to work until 7 that day, their shift started from 11 and they got off at 7 the next day, then no, they would not
They wouldn't get it.
get it because the actual administrative closing does not start until 8 a.m. Now, if their shift started between 8 a.m. till 4:30 when the administrative offices closed, then they would get it.
If they were scheduled to work during that time.
Yes,
Does
Yeah,
everybody
I mean,
have
that
this?
makes sense to me.
yes.
I got both of them.
We were trying to make it
Okay.
more,
Old
not
and
as
like-
complicated.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got the old one and the new one. You got it?
I
Yeah,
didn't,
I want-
I
you
didn't
want
bring
that?
it, I forgot the
Well,
thing.
here, I'll let you borrow mine.
got
I already know it.
I watched the ambulance story and I know there was somebody,
And this is the old one, which you got that already pulled
Yeah.
up.
there was someone in the
I read it
crowd
just for that.
that talked like, some of the other areas give a partial time to their employees for, like, Tullahoma Fire. I think he was from Tullahoma firefighters at that EMS meeting, and they said they got, I think it was like 16 hours or something. But I looked at Tullahoma policy, and I didn't see anything in there that specified how many hours the employees got.
I would be more in favor of just saying, it's either your work day or it's not,
Right.
and not split it down. If it's 2 more hours or whatever, I'm sorry. You were already there, so
Your work-
like, you didn't have to
Your
come
work
in or
shift,
do
I guess,
anything
more or
else,
less
so
than hours, your work shift, whatever your work
I
shift.
would say it'd have to be,
But I think like
a normal
EMS,
work.
they do 24-hour shifts, so
Yeah.
that gets,
they're gonna
That
get it
gets-
anyway,
In the weeds,
Yeah.
yeah.
but that's not even a question.
I think that's why she has it listed as entire shift.
Yes.
Must be. Which that's where I think it should be written too, so.
because that gets a little confusing with, paying, for jurors.
And the way this is written, it's not comp time, it's just, they get 8 hours.
8 hours
pay.
pay, and that's it.
It's over
On the
and done
next
with.
payroll.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
because
8 hours pay, and
that-
it's over with.
If I understood Michael Bonner, that was one of his concerns, was having to cover a shift that person takes off later for those hours
Right.
that they were given for
Well,
comp.
For
yeah,
comp
it's,
time.
it's all the same difference.
Exactly, and you're gonna have that problem.
Yeah. And we're not talking about some years, one day,
Yeah.
We've
You know,
had
some
one
years
day
no
this
day.
You
year.
might-
Yeah,
Yeah, some year
I-
you might have 2 or 3.
Right.
Big deal.
depends on what the mayor decides.
It's not like a set amount of days each year.
These employees that are scheduled to work, regardless of the weather, they report in regardless,
Yeah.
right? So
If
there's
they're
their
scheduled to work, they
shift,
do.
and basically, the question is because they are reporting in and it's their shift to work, when everyone, like administrative offices
Well,
are
let me ask-
closed, then they're wanting extra comp time, is that?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
way it is
Well,
now.
they're
Okay.
not wanting it.
No,
That's
no,
what's
It's
I'm
what
just-
they're-
but,
what our
yeah,
policy is
no,
reading
they
right
get, so they get, let me reword that, they get
They get the
extra
comp time. So
not
what we're
wanting.
doing is taking that out and just give them straight up 8 hours pay for their 8 hour shift,
Yes.
basically,
For an administrative closing.
for administrative closing.
additional 8 hour
Yep.
pay.
When I
That's-
read this, it
That's
says
not so bad.
the entire shift must begin. That gets back to the question, doesn't it? If my shift began, on the day, okay, that could be 2 hours late before they're gonna go home. Should we say the entire shift must be the day of closing?
Well, an administrative closing is basically 8 to 4:30.
Yes. But for those people, it's not.
Right.
So I'm not sure we've got this worded just right.
But if you've got someone that's working, say, from 11 to 7, they
won't get it.
they didn't work during the administrative closing.
Right.
But so everyone else, it would be fine with the entire shift to begin, because the way the shifts work, like your 24-hour EMS, they're gonna get it, because they're gonna be there during that whole entire 8 hours or 7.5 hours that we're normally here. The only one, the sheriff department, it may affect, they may kind of fall like the third shift at, 911.
I don't know what the shift.
I'm not sure about the shifts
either.
at the sheriff department.
I think they're pretty much first, second, third. I'm pretty sure they're not like 12 hours, or I think they're 8 hour.
Do we do
Shift.
911?
Mm-hmm.
They're county employees.
Yep, they're one of our departments.
I thought they were part of the 911 board.
They're under our manual, personnel manual.
What are you thinking?
I don't know of a better way to say it.
Maybe we should take out the entire, maybe we should
That's
just
what I
leave it
was
the
wondering.
shift.
That's
The
what I'm
shift
wondering.
must begin on the day. The administrative closing is in effect in order to receive the additional pay. Maybe not the entire shift,
I don't know
the
if that makes
shift
any difference, really.
must
Whether
begin.
it's entire or the shift.
We're just trying to keep someone from, that's getting, maybe worked an hour
Yeah,
of that
and get
day
paid 80.
and get
Right.
8.
I agree.
You know, that's what we're,
Maybe we should say up to 8 hours during their shift.
I think I will go back and talk with the sheriff department. I'm not really sure about the sheriff department. I know the 911 shifts, but I'm not really sure about the sheriff department, because I know there's corrections, there's road deputies, there's different
Well, they
shifts.
might have several different shifts, yeah.
Right, to see how that would affect the
That,
sheriff department.
yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
We want to do that before
Yeah.
we
But
do
before
any
any
deciding on
decisions are
this.
made, let's
Yeah.
get all the shifts.
And that'll give EMS time to see this meeting and
That's what I'm
And,
wondering.
and
back
weigh in
to
on
that.
this, weigh in
You
on
know, it
this.
doesn't matter whether they've got, 24 hours or 12 hours or whatever, you're only gonna pay them up to 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could easily be said, whatever hours EMS type people get during the 8-hour period, up to 8 hours. And that'll keep it, whether it's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or,
well, I don't know, I'll think about it. I just think it's simpler to say administrative closing, because what that means is the county administrative offices are closed 8 to 4:30. That if your shift is during that time, you get this. If your
And we
shift-
said 8 hours because no first responder works 7 and a
Right.
half.
Right.
Right.
But there are some that work 12 and
Right.
24.
Sure there.
Right, but no one works the 7.5 like the administrative
Right.
offices.
but those type of people are getting paid anyway, so they're gonna get another.
Yeah.
And
They're
they
gonna
shouldn't be
get
An
kicking
additional.
about whatever it is.
Well,
An
they're actually gonna
additional.
get a straight out 8 hours instead of comp time, and comp time kills E EMS.
And I have looked at other counties and some, they don't give anything
Yeah,
for
they
their
don't
first
give anything,
responders.
exactly.
So this is definitely a benefit.
Yeah, that's an incentive.
You wanna talk to the sheriff?
Mhm.
About that then?
Yeah.
And,
I think it would be nice to have the pay rather than the comp time. I mean, if I was an employee,
yeah,
Yeah,
and you know, that's
could be like
kind
getting a
of-
bonus check
that's
for me.
awesome. I get
See, that
extra
could be a
pay
little
on my
Extra
check.
on your check,
Yeah.
I went in and worked and got extra for it.
That's right.
well, that's
Well-
straight up.
But
When
you're still
doing-
working anyway.
when
Well,
you're
I mean,
doing
you have to
comp
work in
time,
those conditions. That is
Yeah.
I mean, that.
Sure it is.
That's it.
And depending on
that's a
how
big
long that comp
incentive.
time sits there in the balance,
Sure.
your hourly rates could also change on how you're paying that out.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
true. That is very
It's
true.
just straight up, if you go ahead and pay
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're doing comp
And it's
time,
done.
some people
Yeah.
never get it, and some people will probably extra benefit from it.
You might have some folks wanting to swap shifts with some people. Say, hey, I'll work it.
Yeah, I wanna work that first shift for you.
But
All right.
no, that's good. But no, I think I guess, and I see what you're saying, because if it caught right at the end of someone's shift, I guess that would get on the 12-hour shift. That's where it would get.
You're giving them, maybe giving them 8 hours and they only worked an hour of that
Yeah,
administrative closing day.
maybe if it said if you worked.
That's why I was saying maybe up
least.
to 8 hours, whatever number of hours fell in our normal 8 hours. That's what they could get paid.
Yeah,
Just don't know how to word it.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
And right now, we don't have any new business, so we'll have these two again on our agenda for the next meeting. And the next meeting will be on, the Monday, April the 19th, is that correct?
That doesn't look right. It must be the 21st.
Let's do the 21st. The guy made a mistake there,
That's what I was double checking.
because that, I don't know where that number came from, okay. On 4/21, 5 o'clock, everybody good with that? All right, only thing left is to adjourn. Need a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Look at that.
Yes, sir. I like having it.
I won't be here that day. I'm gonna be, well, I'll just be getting back.
That's when we're gonna have the department heads come. And here you go, the biggest one.
You should just.
Well, no, not the biggest.
Y'all know how I,
got the
y'all know
sheriff.
how I.
Oh, Jenny said, just make
Okay.
it whatever we want.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that if we agree, if y'all agreed on there being an extra